Okay, so we're going to mess around with the change event a little bit. We're going to do something really mean for poor Bertha. She worked so hard for that 97% on her test score. But what we're going to do now is something a little mischievous here. Every time somebody tries to change the cell next to the word Bertha, it's going to automatically change to a 50% score. And instead of it keep triggering the worksheet change, even though we're changing the value to 50%, we're going to use the application.EnableEvents equals false. And that's going to allow us to do that. So let's show you that without further ado. So we're going to say if the target.column is 2, that means if it's in column B, that the cell that we're changing. If that's true, then we're going to, and let's go ahead and put our shift tab, let's put our end if so that we don't miss it later and get an error. If the column of the target is 2, if it's in column B that we're changing, then we're going to further analyze. If target.offset, now offset is how we can see the cells surrounding it using relative terms. So for example, we're going to need to do which row. Well, the target is on row 4, so that's fine. We need to look at the column 1 over. So the row is going to be 0 rows over, up or down, but the column is going to be -1 because we're going to the left 1. So if that offset cell to the left equals the word Bertha, then that's where we're going to change her score to 50% regardless of what they type. So let's go ahead and debug through this a little bit, step through. So let's change that score to 96%. And so target.column is 2, so we're in column B. If target.offset blah 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 is Bertha, and it is, then so we'd go here and we would say we want to change the target to be equal to 0.50, which is 50%. So now what's going to happen if I do that, as you may well have already guessed, is it's going to trigger this change event, which is going to create this infinite loop. So I'll show you what that looks like. We'll change the target back to 50%. And so now it's 50%, but now we've got a loop going on, the worksheet change. So if target is blah, 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 and if that offset is Bertha, it is. So now, hey, now it's telling it to be 50% again. And, so you notice that it's just looping forever, right? Because each time you change the target to 50%, again, it re-triggers the change loop. So that's why it's important to know how to use your tools. We're going to say application.EnableEvents equals false. So we're turning off events just long enough to type in 50% in her little cell there. And then we're immediately going to say application.EnableEvents equals true again. So manually typing triggers it, but we're automatically going to secretly put 50% in her score, and then we're going to turn back manual triggers of the events. So let's see that from this perspective. So let's say, somebody says, hey, that's not right. She should be getting 96%. Hit enter, and we're going to go through, and the code is secretly going to say, hey, is this Bertha's? Yeah, this is Bertha's score. So turn events off, put 50% in there, turn events back on, and we're done with our sub. And you're going to say, well, that's weird. Let's see if I can change Sally's score to 89%. Well, I sure can, because the offset is Sally and not Bertha. But on this one, the offset is Bertha. So if I change this one to try to give her 100%, it's going to say 50%. Oh, poor Bertha. How about, well, let's just give her a 98. Nope, it's going to say 50%. So that's, don't do that. Don't prank people. But I think it's funny. Anyway, that's how to use the application EnableEvents equals false in a semi-practical application.